All right. Let's see here. All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We are so happy to have you here today. This is our fourth installation of our disaster preparedness series in June. And I just want to do a couple of housekeeping notes before we get started. We are being recorded. So we will be posting this onto our YouTube channel, AARP Alabama's YouTube channel, shortly after this. So please remember that you are being recorded. And so if you are participating, you are showing your consent to record. Any questions that you have for our presenter today, please feel free to type them in the chat. If we do have time at the end, we can open it up for people to take themselves off of mute and ask questions. But at the moment and through the presentation, if you do have anything you want to ask, like I said, feel free to put it in the chat. I will be monitoring that. So we can definitely get to your questions. And one quick note about AARP Alabama. Just a reminder that we are a nonprofit 501c4. We are nonpartisan, and our major role is to make sure that to advocate for those 50 and older and their families. So we like to do full circle advocacy and like do things like I do with outreach and education, which to me is the best part. So again, thank you so much for joining us. I want to welcome our presenter today, Dr. Graham Sisson. He is with the Governor's Office on Disability, and he's the ADA coordinator as well as the general counsel. And Dr. Graham, thank you so much for joining us today. We really do appreciate it.
It's my pleasure to be here today, and hope to give you some good information. This a lot, but it's a whole process, and this is something that was developed from EAD and Associates way back in 2007 after Hurricane Katrina, and it was developed in union with the National Organization on Disabilities. So I appreciate you being here today and the opportunity to present to you. So we'll go to the next slide. And preparedness, what to be prepared. Again, preparedness is every single one of our responsibilities, individualized. And we're really going to focus on really three things today. And this is a quick way to remember what to have in your head, which is a plan, what to have in your hand, and we'll talk about that as a go bag, and then what to have in your home. And this is a ready kit, something that stays at your home in cases of disaster. And of course, in being prepared, practice is what's key. You must prepare, you must practice all the stuff that we're going to be talking about today. So next slide. And again, the assessment is the first step here. Identify the types of assistance you may need during an emergency. There's different types of emergencies. Learn about emergency plans where you live, where you work. So a lot of us, we may have a plan at home, but we also have a job or even in a temporary job or a part-time job. We need to ask our employer, what plans do you have in case there's a disaster? You've heard about what happened at the Amazon, one of the Amazon warehouses that got hit by a tornado, and people were killed. And I'm not sure what kind of plans they had, but it would have been important for those employees to know about it. And find out which hazards may affect your community. We're going to be talking about different types of hazards, tornadoes, fires, heat advisories, cold advisories. Those are things we typically have. And even in some cases, if you live near a nuclear power plant, there could be a nuclear disaster.
Wow, so I never thought of that.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different types of disasters in Alabama, and we even have mild earthquakes.
Yeah.
So there could be areas, and who knows if we'll ever have some very significant earthquakes but that could happen in Alabama. So those things, so we're talking about a very broad range of disasters and emergencies to prepare for in Alabama. So next slide, please.
And you mentioned heat waves, and that's perfect timing because I believe we have a heat advisory, at least down here in Mobile today. So it's going to get pretty hot out there. So it's good to go over that.
So again, I didn't mention terminate. This is the hazard analysis, fires, hurricanes, and of course, Mobile, hurricane, floods. And we have a lot of flooding. And I mean, in the rains in the spring and happening, even when hurricanes come and dump tons and tons of rain, tornadoes, and tornadoes can pop up anywhere. And you'll hear wait for the siren, but if you wait until the siren of a tornado, it's too late. I mean, they're way before that, and heat waves. So more information, we have the Alabama Emergency Management Agency, EMA, that's what it stands for, www.ema.alabama.gov is an excellent resource for information on emergencies. So next slide, please. In Personal Support Network, or PSN, everybody needs personal support work. And it's really you need to identify who can be part of your network, friends. So in Katrina, some people were missing. They went missing. But if they had a personal support network of people who are calling in on them to see how they're doing, and a lot of times now with social media, people can have a network on social media where they can check in and identify as being safe during a disaster. But it can be friends, family, or neighbors. You share information with this network, like, I'm okay, the tornado didn't hit my house, or it did, I'm at this shelter, but I'm okay. And practice your network. So it could be just family members. I'm one of 8 children. I let everybody else in my family know where I'm at. My parents are deceased, so they're no longer obviously a part of my network, but anybody in your family that you're close to, that you can count on that's trustworthy, you can also be a part of their network too. So again, I mentioned at the very beginning, practice your personal support network. Next slide. And here's the go bag. The go bag goes with, that's why it's called a go bag. And one go bag for everyone in your household, including children. So it must be manageable and accessible. You got to be able to carry it over your shoulder, okay? You have to be able to move it. So you can't, I'm not talking about taking the proverbial kitchen sink here, okay? And your pet and your service animal each need a go bag too. And then update and rotate stock every 6 months. If you put food in there, if you put water, stuff that can become stale, that you need to make sure that you check your stock. Okay, I keep a go bag in the trunk of my car. I mean, in my job, I move around a lot, and so I always have that go bag. And you can buy some go bags. Some entities sell go bags, but it might be cheaper to make your, we're going to be talking about what will go in a go bag. But the idea of a go bag, it goes with you. I keep mine in the car. So next slide. Go bag essential items. Here's examples to include in it: a radio and flashlight. Some people include the rechargeable batteries and radio. Also, a list of medications and prescriptions. Some people bring their actual prescriptions with them if they have those for refills and stuff. An emergency list of contacts, or cash. I don't know how much cash. I usually keep $200, at least $200. So copies of important documents, birth certificates, marriage licenses, driver's license, all those important documents that you're going to need for identifications, passports, comfort items. If you have a favorite blanket, or you have, books, things that, not only to survive, but to get by. So stuff that you're used to having. So it's going to be different for everybody, but just something to. Next slide, please.
Yeah. And that's good. That's a good thing to think about as comfort items, because you're so focused on what your essentials and what you need. But, those comfort items can be so important for just the stress level and helping you cope with the stress and anxiety of going through something pretty scary, especially for kids, to have that security blanket or to have that favorite stuffed animal. That's a great point.
Absolutely. Sorry, I've got
You're fine.
somebody on something and somebody said I'm going to get a code or something. But obviously, creating a go bag. Here's some things. Here's some list of them. People use Ziploc bags. It's a good example that. And my go bag is red also. Red is a good color for a go bag because you can find it. You could get some fluorescent color maybe perhaps, but it's got their favorite CDs, a first aid kit. It's got little meals that you can heat up. You see a comfort item, a little teddy bear or stuffed animal, and it's got medications, a list of medications in some of their, and it's got a bag with the medications in it, and it's got backup computer files. That's a great thing. Backup. If your computer is gone, but you have the backup, you can have the information. My emergency contact list, I mentioned that, my important documents. A will, you might want to bring your will and stuff like that. It may already be on your thumb drive or something, but some things you'll need paper copies of. I mentioned about identification. So I got a lot of stuff in my wallet. I'm one of those guys that carries a lot of stuff around in my wallet. I'm an old school kind of person, so a lot of this stuff is going to be in my wallet. You can see there's even a pair of work gloves that are in this. So if you had to pick up trash or you had to pick up move stuff, so think of stuff that you need on a day-to-day basis, and whatever comfort items. If you have a radio, if you have a little TV set that's battery operated, things that you could watch movies on, things like that. So, but it has to be portable, can't be too heavy. So, next slide. Create a ready kit. A ready kit is what stays in your house. Okay, so you're ready. One kit for your household. Everything you need to survive for at least 3 days. And that includes water and stuff. Update, and again, we mentioned rotate stock every 6 months. Next slide, please. Base your plan on your personal assessment. So again, mine's different because I have a significant disability. I'm a wheelchair user, okay? Share your plan with your first support network. That's family and friends that we talked about before. Develop a communication plan. Designate an out-of-state contact. This is important because if all your personal contacts were in an area that was hit by the storm, they may not be as reliable. I've got an out-of-state contact, my twin brother. I've also got some sisters in Atlanta that are my out-of-state contacts. Make a what-if plan with friends and family. What if this happens? Well, let's say, what if my home is blown away? What am I going to do? Where am I going to go? So try to prepare for worst-case scenarios. Next slide. Create an emergency list. Contact information, personal support network, service providers, and others. So you want personal cell phone numbers, ideally, email address. Sometimes, and you want a cell phone number you can text it. Sometimes the cell phone towers are down, but texting still works. So keep one copy in your go bag and ready kit. Those are those emergency contact, personal contact information. And something I didn't mention before, a list of your passwords.
Good point. Yes, definitely.
That you need to have. And again, update your list at least 2 times a year because people die, people change. Even when I try to keep up people with cell phone numbers, a lot of people change those. A lot of people change their email, And even if people have landlines, get a landline number.
Mhm.
I don't have a landline. My cell phone is my only contact. Some people still have landlines. So next slide, please. Emergency information. How will you get information during emergency? Battery operated radios, okay? A text radio, personal support network, we mentioned that, out-of-state contact. What other sources are there out there for information? You know, some people have ways of contacting somebody, or I get updates on my phone.
Mhm.
So you may want there's something called Everbridge where you can get emergency notifications and you can sign up for it. And sometimes the cities or counties will have that. The city of Birmingham has a list that you can get on. They send you all kinds of updating information. So, and if you're deaf or hard of hearing, texting may be the best way for you to go to get your information. So,
Absolutely.
There are NOAA weather radios that some programs give out free, and have different types of notification systems, like flashing lights for people that can't hear, and other information. So, next slide, please. And I'm looking to see evacuation, no escape routes. So even in your own neighborhood where you live, where would you go? If you're in Mobile, do you know which escape route to take? There's I-65, but there's also 43. They have emergency evacuation routes to get out of there. Bring your go bag, obviously. Follow instructions from emergency personnel. Do you have follow your disaster plan? Go to your meeting place. Sometimes people in the personal support networks, they say, okay, if this happens, we're all going to meet up in this secure location. Do you even know where your emergency evacuation shelters are where you live? I'd find that out now if you don't. And you can call your county EMA to find out, okay? A lot of the shelters are run by Red Cross. The state operates very few shelters. Again, and we had something that somehow we didn't get out of this. We had a preparedness wheel with different types of disasters, what you could do. And I don't know, Dorothy was going to look and see if those are still available. And I don't know if they are or not. But
I could not find them, and I did neglect to delete that on the bottom, so I apologize for that.
Left it in there. That's a tool that we use, but we even bought some, but that was so long ago we ran out of them. But I think there's still good information to have if we could get it.
Right, right. So yes, we'll keep looking for those.
Okay, thank you. And of course, your out-of-state contact. Is there a special direction or information for people who have service animals? Again, sometimes service animals can go wherever you can go. There's really the only thing else we mentioned in the go bag, making sure that you have a separate go bag for your service animal. You have plenty of water, you have the food for that animal, and what other things that animal needs. But as far as your service animal, you shouldn't have any trouble in the shelter of getting your service animal in there. We've been informing, I've done training for all the shelters in Alabama, so they should know that you should have access to your service animal. I hope that answers your question. If it did, send me another chat, okay?
Great, good question and good answer.
Thank you. All right. Next slide, please. Sheltering. They offer basic services. It's not, you're not going to be staying at the Grand Hyatt or anything, okay? It's pretty, it's a place, it's a roof over your head. There's other people there. Obviously, bring your go bag. let your personal support network know where you are, and that's what I stated from the beginning. And we mentioned service animals permitted already, but you contact Red Cross, the local emergency management agency, for more information on where your shelter is. And I mentioned that to you, but that's, if you just Google Red Cross where you live, or if you have trouble finding the information, you can call me. And I think I have hopefully my contact information somewhere on these slides. And I know that Dorothy has my contact information. So, next slide, please. Shelter in place, only when instructed by officials. They'll say, you should go to an emergency shelter at this time. Don't remain in your home. There's been people that have stayed somewhere and the whole building was demolished. Shelter in place would not, shelter in place would not be appropriate for them. But again, only shelter in place when people say it's too dangerous for you to leave, it's in place. So use your Ready Kit. Ready Kit is what we talked about. Whatever supplies you need to survive at your place, at your home or your apartment or wherever you live. So get emergency information. Follow instructions of emergency personnel. Again, stay in touch with personal support network, saying that I'm sheltering in place due to the storm. A lot of times in a hurricane, it's pretty rare for somebody to shelter in place in a hurricane. But sometimes in a tornado, there's not enough time to escape. That you have so much less warning obviously on a tornado than a hurricane, and so you'll need in place. So next slide.
Sure. And one note about that, having lived through numerous hurricanes, being a native Mobilian, you were talking about know your routes and your evacuation routes, and that especially in the summer for us, the interstates are an evacuation route, but they may not always, especially for locals, they may not always be the best evacuation routes because they're going to be immediately filled up with people. And I think the last thing you want to do is be stranded on the interstate during a hurricane, just stuck in your car. So, that kind of makes note of, sheltering, your options of taking a different route, sheltering in place. So you do have to really kind of like weigh what your needs versus, what you're safe doing. So I think that's a great point to take into account is, if you have to shelter in place, what exactly does that mean for you? So.
All right, here's a slide on service providers. If somebody comes to your house to provide services, let's say home health care nurse, or somebody comes to your house to, you have respiratory services, or you have some kind of therapy at home, or somebody comes to your house to service your devices, any assistive devices you have, what are their emergency plans? And obviously, if I'm an electric wheelchair user and I can't bring my electric wheelchair, can the service provider provide me with a replacement wheelchair or a loaner? What are their emergency plans? If you have a durable medical equipment provider, what are they going to do in an emergency? And a lot of people got separated in Katrina from their equipment, from their necessary, vital, durable medical equipment. So you want to include names, phone numbers, and services they provide on your emergency list. Who's going to be your emergency contact list? I have somebody comes to my house that provides me the massage therapy. I want to know what their emergency plans are. So if you have folks that come to your house that assist you, or you have people that help you with activities of daily living, what are their emergency plans? Put them on your emergency list. Phone numbers, okay, and make sure again that you update phone numbers, every 6 months. Make sure that they haven't changed. Call those numbers. Make sure that there's still a person on the other end. So, next slide. Insurance. And this is something that in that paperwork I mentioned before, homeowners insurance. renter's insurance if you don't own your home, of course, and life insurance. This is the type of documents that you need. Keep copies of policies in your go bag. Review your coverage annually, particularly on insurance. Sometimes, replacement costs of a house or something is going to go up, particularly now with housing prices and everything going up. You might want to make sure that you have enough coverage to cover, complete destruction of your premises.
Mm-hmm.
Next slide. Financial preparedness. Make a list of all accounts. Here's the paperwork. Banking, credit cards. Keep a copy of the list in your go bag, because you have different bank accounts. You might have CDs. You might have anything that's financial in nature. You want to make sure you have a list of it. Right, next slide. Next steps. So we talk about hazard analysis. What are the different types of hazards? Alabama, we listed those. Assess your abilities and needs, and creating a go bag. And we mentioned the different stuff that goes in a go bag. Creating a ready kit, the different stuff that would go in a ready kit, and then developing a disaster plan. Depending on the disaster, what are your next steps? What are you going to do? Schedule family emergency planning meetings. And then consider joining a volunteer organization. There's one called VOAD, Volunteer Organizations Active in Disaster. And if you want to, we have a group called the Functional Access Needs and Disaster Task Force. I chair it. We meet quarterly at the Emergency Management Organization or agency in Clanton. Stay focused, though. We stay focused. What I mean by that is don't panic. Should any of this stuff happen, being prepared should enable you to be more conscientious about what needs to be done, but also to say, calm and practice your plan. That's a big thing. Practice, practice, practice. So next slide. Frequently asked questions. I don't have the money to purchase the items I need in my go bag. What should I do? I guess prioritize the most important items. See if anybody else can donate some of the items to you. I create a go bag, but it's too heavy to carry. What should I do? Again, look inside the go bag and get rid of anything that's too heavy, but prioritize the most necessary things. Don't put a TV set in your go bag. Okay, I know some people think that's funny, but TV sets come in smaller sizes now, little small models. But again, there's too much information, and I'm feeling overwhelmed. I don't think I can do this. How should I get started? Well, start it one step at a time. Look and see what you already have in your house that could be put in your go bag. And just start. First thing I would start is by making a list of documents. You start small. That doesn't cost any money. And then look at your personal contact list. I'd start there too. And then see, and the next thing I would do is say, well, how do I get my emergency notifications? Do I have a NOAA weather radio? Do I have an app on my phone that can alert me? I have an app on my phone from the National Weather Service. I have another radar app on my phone that I can track storms and see if it's coming my way. So there's different ways, but start small. You can start small, but go through. You can get a copy of this PowerPoint and try to look at it again and say, okay, what's the first thing I'm going to do for this PowerPoint? I've given you some suggestions of things that you can do first. Or you can call me and say, look, what do you think? We can have a conversation on the phone, and I'll be glad to walk you through the whole process.
That's great. And another thing I would suggest is we just recently had one down here. One of our local or TV stations had a disaster preparedness fair, and people were there giving out some of the go bag stuff for free. AARP was there, and we gave out some cell phone chargers. We gave out some first aid kits, just things like that. You can usually find those things at those type of health fairs or things like that. And there's always the dollar stores, the stores that you can go to and get some of the real basic necessities, bottles of water, things like that, for really, really cheap. So there are other alternatives. And of course, I'm always going to recommend, if you're really desperate and worried, call 211. That's United Way's resource, and they can put you in touch with some great folks in your area as well. So, but that's all great information.
Okay, more questions. What about when I'm not near my go bag ready kit? What should I do then? Well, I mean, sometimes going to, it depends where you are. If you're not, call your personal support network immediately and let them know about where you are. And somebody may be close enough to you that could come assist. Says batteries are expensive and I can't afford to buy them for additional flashlights. Radios, what should I do? Well, that might be something where you can see, like you mentioned, see if there's anybody that's donating those type of things. Or you might get the kind that are rechargeable, so you don't have to replace them. You just recharge them. You buy it once. Or you might want to get some items that are solar powered. You can power. So there's different options. But again, obviously, if you got a whole bunch of battery powered stuff and all your batteries are dead because you didn't look at it in 2 years, it's not going to do you any good. So, weren't we going to make comments, Dorothy?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Make a comment. I'm sorry, I made it.
Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine. It was sorry, it was going in and out. What I was just going to mention that we actually at home, we have some hand crank flashlights. And I think they even have hand crank radios out there. They're just obviously very, very basic, but that's also something that you can think about. And they're usually not that expensive, but you don't need batteries for them. And, as long as you're able to crank them in some way, that you can use those as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's technology out there where you can have different options. So, and again, organizations talked about may be able to give you other options too. Maybe they have some stuff that they could donate. So,
absolutely.
So really, we did this pretty quickly. There's a lot of information. I've got other lists of information I could send if anybody wants me to. I mean, I have vast archives, but I wanted to give you a thumbnail sketch today about different things that you could immediately start working on. And we're supposed to have a pretty active hurricane season this year, from what I heard. Right now we're okay. We haven't had as many disasters, but there's no time like the present to prepare. This is something you don't want to put off until tomorrow. And again, last slide is thank you, take action, and be prepared. And this is how I always remember what to have, what I call the 3 H's, okay? What to have in your hand, which is your go bag. What to have in your home, which is your ready kit. And then in your head is your plan. The information, your personal support network, your list, that, knowing where those are. So, and again, all that insurance stuff is so important because the identification stuff, because if that's blown away or destroyed or burned up or whatever, and it's gone, sometimes it takes a while to recover all that. And you really will be saving yourself some major headaches. So So your what to have in your hand, your home, your head. Remember the 3 H's.
That's great. That's easy to remember too. And then you were so good to add some additional resources. And I did put your email address in the chat for anybody who did have additional questions. But these are, and of course, y'all can always reach out to me. I'll put mine in the chat as well. And y'all can always reach out to me as well. And yeah, thank you so much for doing this for us, Graham. We really do appreciate it. And folks, like I said, this has been recorded. If anybody does have any questions at this time, if you want to take yourself off of mute, you're more than welcome to at this point. And let's see. Oh, we do have a question. You may have touched on this. Should you give your contact lists and other lists to someone who doesn't live with you?
I think that's a good idea. That way, you have a backup. If that person's trusty and reliable, and you can get in touch with them, and you have a good relationship with them, I think that's a great idea. I've got somebody that's got some of my information, like my passwords and stuff, to all the different accounts that I have. So that's important. So the list, the password, somebody that you trust, that would be a great idea.
Absolutely.
And definitely, she can send the slides out. Okay. Dorothy, you might send the slides out to everybody.
Sure. I'm also going to send, what I'll do is I'll also send the link to this recording once I have it up on our YouTube page to everyone, as well as our past presentations that we've done before. You touched on a lot of stuff that we've gone over before, Graham, which was perfect. We've done some property damage presentation, especially for those who rent property rather than own it. Renters' rights versus landlord rights. We've also talked about important documentations, particularly the documents that you need to have in your go bag, and what to do if those documents have gotten lost or damaged. So we have a presentation on that. We have a presentation on filing for FEMA and what happens if FEMA denies your claim, and how to appeal that. And next week we are going to be on, this time we're going to be on Facebook Live, showing a recording we did earlier about disaster apps. You mentioned like Red Cross has an app, and there's different apps that you can get to stay in touch and keep up with the weather and let folks know you're safe and things like that. So this was a perfect presentation to kind of tie up all of those. So I just want to thank you so much, and I will, like I said, send out the links to all of those recordings. Does anybody else have any questions for us today?
Yeah, I mean, because we barely, like,
right.
I'm glad that this brings together a lot of their presentations, because this is barely the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
Think of this as a beginning, a direction. We've given you a very broad game plan here, so good strategy, and I mean, it's really been a pleasure to present to everybody, and please keep in touch if I can give you more information.
Great. Well, thank you again so much. We really do appreciate it. And folks, thanks so much for joining us again. All of those recordings you can find on AARP Alabama's YouTube page. We actually have a playlist that has the recordings. I will probably be uploading this recording later today or tomorrow. And like I said, I will send that out to all who have registered so that you can have the recording and review it at any time. We are also planning on having a telephone town hall on July 26th on disaster preparedness, and we're working on those speakers and presenters as well. But that's where you can call in and listen and ask your questions too. So again, Dr. Sisson, thank you so much for joining us today. We really do appreciate it. And everybody, this will conclude our meeting. I hope you have a great day, and everyone be safe out there. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.